Hello and welcome to Sex Positive Me on BFAM 109.6 for our inaugural first broadcast. It's February 22nd, Monday, and today for our subject, we're going to be talking about us because it's our first show, it's our first time on the internet radio, and we want to give you a little rundown of how we got here, who we are, what we're about, fun stuff like that.
But before we start, we always like to thank our sponsors for doing this for us. So today's sponsor is One Condoms. You know, most people don't know that, they they don't like condoms. They think it's a hassle. They don't feel right. That's because they're usually wearing the wrong size. But imagine going shopping for pants and only one size is like either 28 or 42. But,
I would never wear pants.
Oh, yes, I know. But we're always never wearing pants right now during COVID. But thanks to One Condom, they come in 10 lengths, 9 girths, and 60 plus sizes available. And they also have a fix kit. Download it, print it, cut it out, and measure it. We have a little demo if you go to our video to see.
So check them out, and we'll be right back talking about our origin story here on Sex Positive Me on BFAM 109.6.
I got flustered there.
Okay, so we're back, and we thought we'd
program. You're back. You're on break.
Still on break?
Yeah, you're on break. This is the break time. See, it says 2:30. Oh, you actually went straight to it. It's actually got a 1 minute, 1 minute, 15-second break in there. My bad.
No worries. Okay. Just let us know when we're back.
Yeah, you're on break right now. You can talk about this. Is what I was talking about, like when you're in break. You actually have an in and an out. Like you came in, and then you go out, and you go out for a minute 15, and you come back in during that minute 15. Talk about your business. Talk about whatever you guys want to. It's your branding time.
Okay.
I just talked through it there.
Echo here. Is that just okay, or is that normal?
What's that?
I'm getting an echo. Is it because I'm listening to you?
Are you listening on the radio, on the internet? Like, are you watching the show live too?
Yes.
No, don't do that. Yeah, that's where the echo is coming.
Shut down your Facebook.
Yeah, you get an echo because there's actually a lag on Facebook because we're broadcasting off a different thing. So you're going to get a lag. I think it's like 3 seconds behind.
Yeah, this is the only window we have open.
No, not.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't hear an echo on the radio, so I'm good to go.
No worries.
All right, we're coming back in.
Okay, and we're back, and we want to start at the beginning.
The beginning of the time where dinosaurs ruled the world.
We're not that old.
Okay, so not that beginning there. Okay, so the beginning where I was overbooked by 4 events the day I was supposed to meet you.
Well, okay, we'll start off here. We were both divorced. We were in the swinger community, and my friends and her friends were trying to hook us up for a good 6 months.
Well, they were all, surprisingly, they were all our same friends.
Yes. And for 6 months, you wouldn't show up or I wouldn't show up. Or it was that night where I celebrated my divorce and got really drunk. So I'm glad you didn't show up. And
they just said, don't, it's just bad. It was just bad. I'm like, okay.
But we eventually did meet at a swinger meet and greet. So we knew what we were getting into to begin with.
Right. But it was like 5 minutes before you were actually walking out the door, and I was about an hour late into the swinger meet and greet.
It's called Latin time. Nothing's changed.
I know, Latin time there. So that's how we first met. And that was even kind of like an interesting party in itself, too, because there was another gentleman who was trying to get my attention. I kind of totally blew him off because I was focused on your blue eyes.
Oh, the blue eyes got you.
Yes, the blue eyes totally suckered me in.
So that was a Saturday night. And I thought, okay, on Monday, I will give this girl a call and see, make a date or something. Sunday, before 5 o'clock,
Oh, yeah.
I get a phone call going, my week's filling up. I need to schedule in when you're available. And my first thing was, who's this?
It wasn't even who's this. It's like, yeah, I guess. But,
You sound pretty. I'll do it. Yeah.
Because you were just totally blown away that a girl was calling you and asking you out on a date and schedule you in. You're like, oh, so how important is this,
So from that day forward, moving to 11 years later, we haven't gone a day without us chatting with each other. However, we do have some discrepancies about how this relationship did begin in that. And the reason is, for anyone who's in the swinger lifestyle, you know that there are the friends with benefits on one end of it. And then there's the used boy toys, and that's it, the one night stands.
Which is not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. I'm not judging those. However, someone flagged me for a one night stand, and I wouldn't have that.
Made me wait 3 weeks, which in the swinger community, it's equivalent to 6 months.
She thought I was. What?
Yes, you're gay.
Is he? You sure he's straight?
No, are you sure you're bi? Because waiting.
That's true.
Yes, because he did say after the third date that if we're going to continue, I want to let you know I'm bisexual. So with him saying 3 days into our relationship he's bisexual, but then making me wait for 3 weeks, I thought for sure he was lying. He was bi.
I saw something special in her, and I wanted this to continue. I wanted to go ahead and have her be more in my life than just a quickie. So I made her wait. Things progressed, the normal stuff. The families met each other. Although that was another fiasco.
Oh, completely. I never trust my father ever again after that.
Apparently, that meeting where your family meets her family at a restaurant that sometimes happens. Yeah, they forgot to tell her mom, so she walked in going, "Who are these people we're sitting with?"
Right, because at the time my daughter was 9 years old, and so she saw him, and she's already seen John for quite some time, and so she was so excited. It's like, "Hey, John!" Da, da, da. And that's where my mom was starting to freak out. It's like, "Who's this man? What's going on? What's happening?" And I'm like, "Dad, it's like you were supposed to handle this." It's like, "Yeah, I'm handling it." I'm like, "No, you're not." It was just the most uncomfortable, biggest fiasco ever.
But right off the bat, you did say to me that our relationship, I will never be bored.
Correct.
And
you'll never have a dull moment.
No, and I never have. It has been adventurous to say the least.
Some good, some bad, some really interesting.
So we started dating and became a couple in the lifestyle. And we had a group of friends. We would go to swinger clubs. We were actually involved behind the scenes for a little while. And move forward 2 years, we got married in Vegas. And I'll go ahead and just say my line. We got married on a boat in the desert on Friday the 13th, and she was wearing blue suede shoes. Because we did get married in Vegas on a gondola over at the Venetian. It was Friday the 13th. She decided to get her shoes in Orlando, and for some reason can't find white shoes in Orlando. Ended up getting blue suede.
Yes, because they were comfortable.
And again, a boat in the desert. There we go. So we eloped, though. We told a bunch of our friends, come on out, and if you can't come, shut up. And we went out to Vegas. We got on the boat. We got married going down that Venetian, which was a beautiful hotel. And what? The rest is... Oh, no, I can't say the rest is history, because that night you almost got kicked out of the Spearmint Rhino.
Well, there's no sign that says that the patrons need to keep their shirt on, because I saw the dancer. She was pretty hot. So I was getting, it's my wedding night. It's my honeymoon. Hey, it's like, let's go have fun. Yeah, they're like, no, honey, you got to keep your top on, but you're so pretty. So
for those of you who don't know, the Spearmint Rhino there is I'd say really nice.
It's an upscale strip club, dancer, exotic, whichever you would like to call it. But it's, it's so famous. It's been on several television shows. They always refer to the Spearmint Rhino. It's like, where did you have your bachelor party? It's Spearmint Rhino. So, Pretty good.
Well, that wasn't even the bachelorette party. That was the wedding party.
That was the wedding party. That was the funny part because, we had a mix of our friends there. We just basically said the only rule was they couldn't tell any of our family members that we were getting married in Vegas there. Because his side was a little bit more like, why didn't you tell us? And my side's like, that's okay. Can we just play with the little grandbaby? Like, that's all they cared about on their family. But it was fun because they asked us, I was like, what are you doing after the wedding? We're going to the strip club. They're like, no, seriously. We're serious. We're going to a strip club.
And on your wedding night, you almost got thrown out. That was priceless, but par for the course so far.
Oh, come on. It's not anything less than expected of what I do in antics. Come on. Half the time you're always like wondering, it's like, what is she coming up with next? Like the example I took you to a concert. I'm like, hey, can you leave work right away? Can you get off? It's like, what? What's going on? Just come home right away. Just come home. It's like, get in the car, drive. Where are we driving? Go just drive south. Let's go. It's like, next thing you know, we're at the Lincoln Park's opening night tour in Miami. Didn't tell him anything. It was all last minute, actually. Story of my life. Everything's last minute. But we still, managed to function. And, one of our big fights early in our relationship was at a swinger party.
Yes. Even in the lifestyle, even though we may be sexually open, some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts, some of us are exhibitionists, while others are voyeurs.
And you could guess who's who in this relationship at the beginning.
So when you get a voyeur and an exhibitionist together, and the exhibitionist, we'll say, coaxes the voyeur out into the middle of the room.
That's how you presented
That's exactly how I'm presenting.
That I coaxed you?
So at a swinger party, we are in the middle of the room. We're having sex, butt-ass naked. And I don't remember how it started, to tell you the truth. But all I know is at one point I looked up and there was at least 30 people in the audience. And we were the focus of the attention. So when you get that kind of shock, mentally, don't give me that look.
I gotta watch the video. Yes, I am giving you that look because we were hot, we were passionate, we were making out, and there was a bed open.
We weren't making out. You were on your back, your legs were in the air. And then all of a sudden I looked up and the 30 people and I went, oh crap. And that fear set in.
And he ran.
I didn't ran. I ran with you.
No, you ran. I had to chase you. I'm like, what the? Because that's when the fight broke out. I'm like, no, if we're going to be doing this, we're fucking in front of everybody. Okay, it's like, no.
So that is our first fight.
That was our first fight because that was
many years ago.
Yeah, we didn't really expect set down boundaries, rules, expectations, guidelines of what we were expecting to be in the lifestyle. So it got really heated because I'm like, I'm an exhibitionist. I love this. I love to be the center of attention. I love people watching. And
you still do.
Well, now you do. Excuse me, my little piggy here. It's like you have converted quite as much as an exhibitionist as
I've had encouragement.
Oh, encouragement. In quotes there. Encouragement.
So as you can tell, we are a married couple. We are both bisexual. We are in what we call relationship anarchy.
Anarchist!
In the sense that, no, not the 1980s punk music. No one needs to think Sex Pistols. However,
I wouldn't think that.
I would.
Okay.
I hear anarchy. I either think Sex Pistols or the symbol. The weird. We're none of that. No. We just float between many of the alternative communities. We go between swinging, poly, open relationship, power exchange. We're very active in the BDSM community. We kind of love it all and do our best to enjoy it all. And eventually we did turn that into a podcast.
Yes.
So for the last 5 years, we have had Sex Positive Me, the podcast, and then turned it into said radio show. So this is going to be a little different than the podcast, though, because I know on this one, we're going to be bringing on guests.
Yes.
And we're going to be answering questions, which we
Yes.
don't do. The podcast is recorded. Of course, this is live.
Yes.
So
hence a lot of bloopers going on here. We're trying to be as professional as possible, but if you hear some deer in the headlights thing, it's we're still trying to get the hang of the live, because it's just giving us flashbacks of our first season of the podcast. So if you ever have listened to our Sex Positive Me podcast, season 1, oh my God, the bloopers in there are insane, us going live, because we're just like, hey, we're just driving down the road. Let me just hit the record button. Let's record.
Yes. And it has been such an interesting journey through all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have been approached by dungeon owners. We've been to swinger resorts. We have done, honestly, a lot more. Traveled from California to Costa Rica to Toronto.
Yes.
Interviewing people all about sex. And that's why we called it Sex Positive Me.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how you enjoy sex. That's what sex is for. It's to enjoy. It's a part of being human. It's definitely nothing to be shamed about. It's nothing that you should feel awkward or weird about, but we do. So we decided to take our message and go live with it out here and try to talk to as many people as possible and do a little good.
Because it's healthy. It's pleasurable. We shouldn't be ashamed to talk about it and enjoy it and really go the extra mile to find new ways other than what the media or our family has taught us. So we try to push boundaries to educate you as much as possible. So, and we will take one for the team to learn and let you know what is going on.
Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking a lot more about where the podcast came from and how it was born, because there's a story in there that's a little dark but necessary. So listen in on here. We're Sex Positive Me on BFAM 109.6.
You could do Kink Crate, so that way it's easier to go back and forth on that.
Absolutely perfect. You're in break. Yep.
You're in break.
Awesome. Thank you.
Break. So, medical play, role play, puppy play, a lot of play in there.
All the different boxes they've given us.
Yeah.
And then for the second part, we're really going to talk about how it started.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the more darker part.
Darker. We like to go dark.
Yeah, we like fun dark. This is just dark. But that's okay.
You guys are doing great.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
How different is live from editing and taping?
A lot.
Yeah, I agree. Better or worse?
Just different. We get to comment out the stuff. We can totally go on a tangent, and if it went to a dark place or just didn't work out, we cut it.
Right. All right, 15 seconds.
Gotta see how we can alternate the kids.
We will.
The kids have to be in it.
Third. Okay, we're back. And if you're looking to get a little bit kinky, but you don't have time to go out shopping, it's a little bit of a hassle. There's always the neighbors watching. There's a great service called Kink Crate that we get every month. What it is it's a monthly package that comes to your door, and it has interesting kink in there. Everything. Let's see. One month was bondage. Another month was medical play. They had a rope month, an impact, but they even had a puppy play month. And what I really love is that they're LGBT inclusive. So for couples, there's options if you are a male-female, male-male, or female-female couple, and the box is customized to you. So even if you're a single lady, the box will be customized to toys and products that you'll find useful. So if you're looking to spice it up and want to spice it up on a monthly basis, go to kinkcrate.com. So
Now comes the dark side of our story.
Well, the dark origins. And for most good origin stories are not all fluff and feathers. If they were, well, Star Wars would have a whole different.
Well, so would X-Men. I mean, it's like the way you could say dark origin stories. The only thing that comes to my mind is X-Men immediately. So, because
everything DC, like Batman
DC
has a happy beginning.
I don't think any of DC's characters had a happy beginning.
Well, that's part of the formula.
Okay, so that's DC there. But okay, so when we met, it was in 2010. I was already almost a year and a half into counseling and therapy, because in 2008 we discovered that my daughter was being sexually abused by her paternal grandfather, and her paternal father, baby daddy, or sperm donor, as we like to refer him as, knew about it. But since we discovered during the course of the therapy sessions that he probably was sexually abused himself. So that is why he thought, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. This is natural. And we're like, oh no, there's everything wrong with this. Because the reason we found out, it was caught at his community pool. I remember the phone call very clearly on December 17, 2008, is like, we have a video of a grandfather and his granddaughter in inappropriate behavior in a pool. Notice that just devastated me. It was, I flatlined for a few days there. And what the child services people and the county sheriff told me, do not discuss anything with your daughter until we could bring her into child services to interview her and ask her. At the time, she just turned 8, and when they got her into the interview process, that's when she was kind of lying about it, but she was told to lie because if she told the truth, that then they would hurt me and kill me, as that's what they told her. But the way the detectives and the services area were able to say, hey, we know the truth, this was caught on video, and she came as clean as possible of what she knew in regards to what was going on. Once we were done with the interview, I literally just went up to the child services and I'm like, how quickly can we put her in therapy? And they really looked at me like I was a three-headed dragon, because no parent ever wants to put their child in therapy. And I'm like, she's gone through a traumatic event. I want therapy too, because how am I supposed to handle this on top of her? I mean, she's 8, so she's never been in therapy. She just knew a nasty 50-50 custody between her parents. And I tried as much as possible to never show my anger side towards her dad, even before finding out about this abuse, because I've seen the challenges. And I was trying to be the good mom, because I didn't want to be the stereotypical, oh, she's Latin, she's only after the money, she's only after for child support. And I'm like, no, I'm not bringing in a baby. And it's like, and at the time I had a successful career. I had my own house. I had my own car. I was set. I'm like, why do I need a man? And at this time, I was already 10 years single. So, I was like, I need no man. It's like, I could take care of. But when your whole world is devastated like that, you're just like, oh shit, what the fuck? What do I do now? It's just,
well, then they got you into therapy.
Oh, they finally got me into therapy. They were actually pretty quick about it. So when I say quick, it was about 6 weeks. So because this all happened during the holidays, and they did arrest the paternal grandfather based on what information was said in the video. Unfortunately, they could not get the sperm donor, because who in the world goes to Best Buy and has their entire hard drive clean and wiped?
Right after Christmas.
Right after Christmas. Like right after your dad got arrested. Who does that? Anyone with a guilty conscience? So because she never specifically said that she saw her dad upload the photos from her camera. It's like they gave 8-year-old a $300 digital camera for her 8th birthday. Who does that? Who does that?
People hiding stuff.
Hiding stuff there. So, but because the SIM card was taken out, they couldn't find it. Of course, everything was deleted, and that's all she knew was her camera. Finally, I got into therapy, and the therapy was to be individual, peer, and family therapy. So my daughter, 8 years old, no problem. She got all 3, not a problem. Myself, being a bisexual swinger was a huge problem. So I had to go through 5 therapists before I found the therapist that was going to help me work with the trauma of losing my daughter's innocence, because the other 5 therapists were trying to figure out, it's like, well, where's your boundaries? And are you sure your sexuality didn't have anything to do with it? I'm like, I had no idea my daughter was being sexually abused in the first place. It's like, how would that whole lifestyle that I never even brought up? I mean, 10 years, my daughter never even met any of my boy toys, any of the people I was dating, none of that. She never knew. Unlike the sperm donor who had a revolving door, like every 6 months had a new girlfriend living with him. It was like, red flags here. But of course, I was a bad person because I'm a bisexual swinger. So I took challenges on finding the right individual therapist for me. For the peer group, well, I had to come into Jesus moment with the group. I said, look, I'm a bisexual swinger. I know the reality is these kids are going to have sex in middle school and high school, and we have to get them prepared emotionally and mentally for them to have sex in middle school and high school, because these are kids between the ages of 7 and 10. And I got kicked out. Or may I say, I was asked not to return. That was the kind phrase. I'm like, so I turned around and I said, I'm getting kicked out. And she just kind of politely said, you just made a lot of people uncomfortable. I'm like,
it's such a shame.
It's such a shame. So I was only able to do family and individual therapy as part of our program. And so I was left in the dark, in the shadows of how to heal with, the loss from somebody of my peers or something. And that's how I kind of got into the adult industry and met a couple of fabulous people and got to meet like resources that, some of them, yes, they went through that trauma, but then at the same time, they've overcome it and succeed and became successful business people in the adult industry. And they navigated me to the adult, to sex education in order to continue on my healing and continue to even help people. Because one thing I noticed in my one session of it being with the group was that they were very uncomfortable to talk about sex, even with their own spouse right there. I'm like, you're husband and wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, you're adults, 30s, 40s, 50s, and you can't talk about sex, let alone to your kid. That's the whole reason we're all here. Mm-hmm. But you can't talk and say that. They're like, oh, we don't talk about that. We don't do that. And I'm like, holy moly. I'm like, okay. Am I the odd man out here? It's like, am I weird?
Unfortunately, on our journey, we found out we are.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, there's appropriate sex education, but sex education almost non-existent in a lot of households, at least when we grew up.
Right.
It was a subject not talked about.
Yeah, and this, you have to realize this was like 2008 to 2009. So it was like a whole journey that first year prior to meeting John. And so when we finally did meet, things were a little bit stable, a little bit better. And I was much better because now I found my people, as I like to say, because I found people who understood me and guide me and helped me create the right path here. But when we started dating, I was like, look, you're walking into a heavy baggage relationship here.
Well, I'll chime in and say on the good news of it, by the time you found me, you did already find a therapist mm-hmm. who understood the situation and approached it without judgment. Because so many therapists bring in their own baggage and bring in their own morals about what's right and wrong. And we found a great therapist that helped our daughter, your daughter, my stepdaughter out amazingly.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I did walk in, and as you say, I took over the payments.
Yes.
Diva was happy to have me around.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we waited. I never ever asked to be called daddy.
No.
And about a year into it, all of a sudden she turned around and just looked at me and said, "Daddy." And I said, "What'd you say?" She said, "That other guy's an asshole. I don't know. I don't want to know him anymore. You're daddy." And that was it.
Yeah.
I was her father. And from here on out, she claims to be a daddy's girl, even to the point where she says her big feet come from daddy's big feet, which we all know that's not possible.
Yeah,
but
we're like genetics and DNA. We're like, no. It's like, I'm like, okay, I know we were trying to explain this to her, and she's like, nope, he's my daddy. I got daddy's feet. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's like, but that's how this became, because we were like, no, people need to be comfortable. They have to be confident talking about sex, and especially talking to their kids about sex. There's nothing shameful about it. I mean, the biology book says penis, vagina, and vulva. There should be no shame, because that I had to laugh at the state attorneys, because we had to go, and they took the case. And for anyone who's going through this, know the law, know everything, because they will do as quickly as possible to get the cases out, because we got a raw deal out of it, because the guy only got 7 years instead of 25 years, because they charged him with lewd and lascivious act for a minor under 16. That gave him only 7 years, when in reality it should have been lewd and lascivious act for a minor under 25, under 12, would have gave him 25 years here in the state of Florida. So that's something I didn't know, because I trust the legal system. So after that legal battle, I never trust the legal system ever again. No, I don't. But as I was saying about the state attorneys, they were asking, it's like, so he touched your flower, he touched your butterfly. Me and Diva are looking at each other. What in the world is she talking about? And then it's like, Diva's like, you mean my vagina? And the state attorney just got blown away. It's like, yes. So I'm like, yeah. It's like, he did. And it was just like, okay. And it was like, she was like taken back. And I'm like, well, that's how she was groomed. She didn't know any different. And that's where a lot of sexual abuse predators, they kind of groom their child to believe that's the way to show love. They don't know any different. It wasn't like very like forceful. It was in a loving, tender, caring way. So even though she knew the proper terms, but she didn't know to tell me about it because they threatened her, that's why I did not know. And during the therapy sessions, we discovered that this was happening for many, many years. It could be as young as 1 or 2 that she's been being sexually abused by her paternal grandfather. And they all knew about it. And it was like nothing.
Well,
that's the dark side of our story.
Yes.
Origins. It's like, yeah, it's kind of hard to get like, puppy, but that's why we're very passionate about what we do. That's why we interview with so many different people. And that's why we talk to everybody. So everyone doesn't feel alone or ashamed of what they like. If you're kinky, if you're monogamous, if you're polyamory, whatever, fruit of the world you want to try, go for it. I mean, that's why we, compare everything to fruit. I mean,
everything to food.
Everything's to food. John's Italian, I'm Mexican. It's all based on food. That's why we say 33 flavors of sex and relationships, because I got away with it. It's not 31.
Now we go 33?
We go 33. We say 33 flavors, because then that little ice cream place can't sue us.
I don't even know if they're still around.
They are. We go all the time, but they don't. Yeah. Yeah, we do. It's next to Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, we need to take a real quick break, but when we're right back, we're going to find how this story turned into a positive here on Sex Positive Me on BFAM 109.6.
Facebook user is or no?
We never got along.
Hey, John, I went ahead and turned that off because this is our first show anyways. I see what you did now. Now that I've seen your outline, it's even better than I thought it was. So your music is your break. So just do this the way you do it, same timeline. Don't change anything.
Okay.
Yeah. I see how you did. I misread it the first 2 segments.
No worries.
Okay.
We're good.
Nah. Okay, so let's come in. I'll let that music finish when it ends. Let's just come in with that segment, the next segment, okay?
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, cool.
It's just a Virgo in you.
Yes, the Virgo in me explains a lot. I think it's the Virgo in me is the only reason I like the next sponsor we're going to talk about. So I obviously we're 2 very kinky people. And a few weeks ago, we finally had some friends come over. We had it professionally installed, and we put a mount point, which is basically just an O-ring in the ceiling. And it just happens on that exact same day. We have been chatting with a company called Sex Swing. Yes, they actually got the domain sexswing.com. The package arrived and we couldn't wait. We opened it up. We put it up. And yes, I have a fully hanging sex swing in my garage. And it is so much fun. The model they sent us was something called a Screamer.
The Screamer.
The Screamer.
The Screamer. So, yes.
But what I was amazed about, it had accessories. You get to accessorize stuff.
Yeah,
So
whoever thought you could accessorize a sex swing?
it was sort of like putting together, it wasn't quite Legos, but it was like putting together a childhood toy because things snapped in different places. You could configure them, you could customize them. And what was really nice is it's rated for 250 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
However, we got to interview the owners of the company. They got to come down and hang out with us. And it turns out that the only reason they put 250 pounds on there was because of the way people the way they mount it is with a screw. We actually put a bolt in there. So since it was professionally installed, they said, we can't say it'll go higher, but I know I got in there and I'm 220 and I bounced around in it and I felt secure as hell. It even had a spring to get rid of the weight. So if you're interested in a sex swing, go to sexswing.com. Actually go to our website, sexpositiveme.com. There are links going there that we can get some affiliate information on that. But how do you enjoy sex in the swing?
It's so comfortable. I love it. It is. It's like, especially with me, with my neck, I was so concerned about it, but we got like this headrest and oh my God, super, super comfortable. It was so much fun there.
And there's plenty of things we're trying to do with that. But now we're going to come back to our story because where we left off was kind of dark and we don't like dark. It's called Sex Positive Me. We want to stay positive, but
but there's always a dark origin. So now we're more DC than Marvel.
We're coming back to Marvel now. I like the positive one.
Are we? Because even Marvel had some dark side.
I'm totally much more Iron Man than oh no,
Batman. I'm totally Deadpool.
Well, yeah, you are.
Yeah, I'm completely Deadpool there. So
because you'll make jokes while you're doing everything. So essentially, from that dark experience, we met.
Yes.
And at the time, you were still looking for an outlet. I mean, honestly, life was busy. We both had jobs. We were at therapy at least once a week. Mm-hmm. And then spending a lot of time with our daughter, which needed the attention. Mm-hmm. She definitely needed a loving environment, and we weren't going to cut that short. But your outlet was blogging. You started to do some writing.
Yeah, I did.
And we started to go ahead and look up. You started finding them, the conferences. Mm-hmm. Everything LGBT, anything sex positive. We've even over the years been to an erotic con of erotic book writers.
Yes, that was very surprising. Yes, because not a lot of things shocked me, considering everything that we have gone through. But the erotic conference totally blew me away and scared me to the point I'm like, really? Is this legal? I mean, there
was a lot of aggressive women there.
Yeah. You want to see sexually repressed women attack men? That's the conference to go to. And I'm like, what about them? Don't they have a Me Too movement for men? I mean, come on. I mean, they're hot models. So don't get me wrong. They were some hotties there. Leather and lace and everything else.
Well, yeah. Think of those steamy covers on those books.
The Fabios.
The Fabios. And then make them real. because I still counted. I'm like, I think you have an extra ab in there. That wasn't
there was a 12-pack. There was a 12-pack.
There was?
Yes, there was one.
And they weren't twins. That was on one guy.
That was one guy. I was just like, do you even have an ounce of fat? Because I really wanted to go up to him. And it's like, do you measure your fat at all? Because I don't see any. I really, and I think they did that glycerine, sugary thing to make their like muscles.
They were oiled.
They were well oiled. I mean, I'm hoping that was just to repel.
Oh no, I think it just makes you slick. So if you got to run, no one can grab you.
Exactly. I was just like, oh yeah.
In 2016, we had a very interesting thing happen, and that was I had a month of use it or lose it vacation.
Oh, yes.
So you took time off. I took time off. It was December. We drove Disney World to Disneyland and back 7,000 miles in just under 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And over that time, we realized that when you put two people in a car for that much time, either they become very close and loving, or someone ends up in a ditch and missing. Thankfully,
we almost did.
We've swerved. Yeah, we came back and forth between those moments. But at the end of it, we came out with a plan that, because you're the one who came up with the idea of starting a podcast.
Well, yes, because a lot of the bloggers said, you have a story, you have a voice, do it. Podcasting would be better. You just need to use your voice. So either that or vlogging, doing YouTube. And I was like, at the time, the child was still a minor. So that's why a lot of our videos have come out a lot in 2018, because she's no longer a minor. Woohoo! I'm good.
She's grown up. She has a job and she moved out.
Yes. So she's living happily ever after her conservative life, which we were like, why is you conservative?
Okay.
Exactly. So,
but you always do the opposite of what your parents do.
Exactly.
So,
but eventually I think she will come back to the dark side. We'll see.
So we really sat down for a while and wanted to work on a mission statement.
Yes.
And we originally started with the title, Living a Sex Positive Life, for our first year. We did change that to Sex Positive Me. But when we were starting this off, what we were, again, with our experiences, there was so much shame around sex, so much repression, and so much immaturity, really, around sex, the way it's portrayed in the media, on TV, in movies. But it's natural.
Yeah.
It's not anything wrong. So we wanted to go ahead and make sure we had a mission to educate and bring light to people that normally don't have an outlet to tell their stories. Because there's a lot of people that can't come out, whether they're swinger, whether they're in BDSM, whether they're transsexual, just because it'll affect their job.
It'll affect their whole life, period. Because even some of the things that they enjoy, they can't even say to their conservative Christian, religious, pillars of the community family, or they have a morality clause in their job description.
Ooh, that's a hard one.
That's a hard one, because we know several people were just like, ooh, that's a nice 7-figure job. Yeah.
So at that point, that's the year you also went back to school.
I did. I went to get my kink certification. So that was pretty intense, because I wasn't expecting to really go back to mental health psychology. So I learned a lot from the John Gottman Institute in regards to applying his philosophy into the kink community, the alternative communities there, because John Gottman's Institute is focused primarily on heterosexual couples. So what he did back in the 70s, which again, 70s, anything's possible.
Anything goes in the 70s.
Anything's possible.
That is like the biggest excuse. You did that, it was the 70s. And everyone's like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, it was totally the 70s. He locked, a couple up in a cabin in a controlled environment, observed them, and then I want to say he made bets. I know he was just predicting, but to me, it's like almost like a betting game. It's like, oh, these couples are going to stay together. Oh, nope, they fight too much. Nope, they're going to break up. So he was coming up with all these possibilities and came up with his own philosophy and training on how to help individuals and relationships and counselors and therapists. So if you tell anyone, I studied the Gottman Institute, and any psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists will say, oh, okay, so great, you have some great qualifications. But it's for the kink community, the ethical
it was turned to that.
It was applied, it was applied to the ethical non-monogamy, BDSM, and power exchange community. And they're like, say what? And they're like, how is that possible? I'm like, so I had to explain. So kudos to the Kink Therapy Institute for doing that. I know I don't think they're currently active at the moment due to the fact of COVID and other things.
Yes,
So
COVID's turned everything upside down.
COVID has turned anything upside down, but I learned a lot more than I anticipated. I mean, grant you, I've already been in the, swinging and kink community for over 25 plus years. I know I started very
baby.
young. I was a little baby compared to John, who's like 12 years.
I started in my 30s.
Yes.
Which is a little more typical.
Really?
Okay. So,
recovering Catholic.
We started the podcast. You went to school, and we really, I'm going to say right off the bat, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
No.
We bought some equipment on Amazon, got a service, plugged it in, and we went live on occasion. There were times we recorded stuff just on our iPhone and turned that into an episode. So to say there's bloopers in the first year are hysterical. And I want to reminisce at the moment because we have the time too.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, come on. My favorite episode still was when we were interviewing a dungeon worker. Owner. We'll say it's out of the West Coast. He knows who he is. And he got an IKEA delivery in the middle of the interview. Now, take into account, he was at his workplace. He was at the dungeon.
Well, it also West Coast 3 hours behind. So, there he goes.
IKEA shows up. And he goes, okay, I got to put the phone down and take it. And I'm like, no, you take this phone with you. I want to hear this. And man, it was so worth it. IKEA delivery guy, there was 3 of them. One walked in and went, oh, hell no, the devil's in there. Refused to come in the building. So the other 2 guys were pretty damn upset having to carry a large couch inside and place it and set it up and whatever. But man, that you can't make this shit up.
You couldn't, because the disturbance of the interview was just hysterical. We're just laughing our heads off. And this guy is trying to keep calm and not lose his cool with the IKEA delivery. It's like, it's just a dungeon. Just deliver the furniture. That's it.
Ignore the skeleton and other stuff on the walls. Just keep going. Yes, you'll be fine. Walk into this alley for us. Yes. It's not that bad.
Are you sure? It probably was the alley where they were delivering the furniture.
You know what? I'm sure their story, like the IKEA guys, are still telling this story about, you wouldn't believe where they sent me.
Yeah, this was like 4 years ago. So yeah. But yeah, we had so many. I know, like, our first year doing the conferences, we were like pulling teeth to get people to come and interview with us. We're like, hey, we're safe. We're not going to make it sensationalized or change your story. We're going to keep it as ethical as possible, because we are ethical people. We do want to.
Unlike some Netflix
stuff. Oh, that was HBO Max. I am so mad at HBO Max.
Netflix has done it too.
Well, yeah, of course, bait and switch. But that's for another segment there. But, so after the second year, we kept going to the same conferences. Then we had like a sign up sheet. Like, people were lining up, coming to us because they're like, we could trust the Lunas. We could trust them telling the stories as we tell them. They're not changing it. They're not, mocking us or anything, because we can, it's like, we're not professional journalism, but we acted that way because we're curious.
We do the best we can.
Yeah, but especially when it comes to history, we're both history buffs, so we do like history. So when we were hearing like stories of how the leather community came about, how what was that club up in New York?
Hellfire Club in New York.
Yes, how all these came about.
Okay, so if you don't know anything about the BDSM community, you could imagine that there's dungeons, places where people go to get whipped, to get bonded, to may or may not have sex. That's independent. However, the Hellfire Club was a club from the 70s. So, that whole excuse, it's the 70s. Yeah, I wasn't too far from Club 54. But there were no rules. Absolutely none. There was no liability insurance. That didn't even exist back then. I don't even know.
It was so underground.
Completely, to the point to where you would go up to it like a speakeasy.
Knock on the door.
If you didn't know the word or they didn't know you on site, it was wrong place, go away and close it. They literally had a bouncer like that. So to get in, what was a challenge to start off with. And to find it, of course, there was no advertisements. You had to
Mm-mm.
be in the community. Well, amazing. It's like finding the history. It's like, what? That type of stuff is lost.
It's lost unless you find someone. I mean, come on. We even found the Betty Page photographer who was telling us the stories of how they had to go out of the city to take photos of Betty Page, and the photo of Betty Page changing clothes in the tunnel in New York City. That was his photo, because what happened was, like, a whole bunch of people carpooled together. And at the end, it was just Betty Page and her boyfriend, and him and another photographer got left behind from the carpool. So they offered to give them a ride back to the city, and they got stuck. What's that tunnel?
They got stuck in the Lincoln Tunnel in traffic. So a complete standstill traffic. So, of course, it was a convertible. Betty Page stood up and said, "Start taking pictures, boys." And there's pictures of her standing in the car in the Lincoln Tunnel of that. And again, this is in the 50s. So many laws, so much was different. Did you know that one of the big things back in the 50s was sending pictures like that was illegal through the post office? Mm-hmm. They would seize it.
Yeah, so they had a lot of it. I think there was a HBO story on that one, Betty Page, the years, and how the censorship and how the post office got involved in regards to what was being sent. And yeah, that was just great history, just hearing from it. And like, granted, the gentleman was probably in his 80s. Yeah.
He was in his 80s.
But still a player. He had a lot of beautiful girls around him. So.
Well, the one thing that is still our mission, though, is to tell these stories, to give these people a platform. And on top of that, to share information that's going to affect your sexual freedom. Because right now, there is a whole social media thing going on where we can't advertise because we have sex in our name. Mm-hmm. And it isn't just affecting us. It's affecting doctors, hormone doctors, therapists who want to say they're a sex therapist. We just want to make sex normal. It's not something to be hidden in the closet and put up on the cookie jar and put away and then taken out once in a while. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's who we are.
Right. And it is a part of nature. I mean, come on. There are 7,000-year-old Tantra temples in, India, worshiping the body and the pleasure of sex because of its health benefits, because of the chemical release. Like 7,000-year-old history. It's like, hey, they knew something that we didn't know here, and we're not practicing. So,
God.
Think about it.
That's real history.
Yes.
Well, that's how we came about, but we're going to go ahead and just take a quick new message here. We're Sex Positive Me on BFAM 109.6. I think that's a segment.
Are we talking about our sponsor now?
I don't know. We're going to go ahead and talk about our sponsor then. So, for the last year and a half, both of us, I started the first year, then you started later on.
Right.
Went through the Florida Center for Hormones and Wellness, which is a hormone doctor's office in Orlando that specializes in sexual health and wellness. And it's not just sex. Anyone can prescribe Viagra. It's so much more than that, because I'm low testosterone, and that affects more than just my erection. It affects your muscle development, and believe it or not, your heart is a muscle. So it can cause heart problems later on in life. So we've been going for the last year. We've actually been documenting it, and you can check out our YouTube channel where we have the videos going through it, or you can check out hormonesandwellness.com, because they've put us both on a treatment plan. And
it's
honey,
like a lifestyle.
You tell the results.
It's a lifestyle change, honestly, because not only are they giving us like pellets to help with our hormones, our testosterones, our thyroids, they are also giving us diet ideas. We've been intermittent fasting. Between the two of us, I think we've lost 60 pounds combined since starting the treatment there. Our energy levels has gone up. Our libidos have gone up. I mean, he has, morning wood. I'm pretty.
I woke up with you on top of me last week.
Okay, well, several times in the 250 days that I've been on my treatment. Okay, so it's like, yes, I didn't think my libido was that off. I mean, we had a really good sex life. I mean, I struggled a little bit with his ED because of the low testosterone, but after he's been on his treatment, it's been great.
It's gone and by.
Yeah, but you've been able to get your muscle back. I have been gaining muscle too because my exercise routine has increased. Been doing more yoga, trying to upgrade it with weights. But yeah, the results are phenomenal. And like I said, like right now, my biggest challenge, and it's like, oops, so sorry for me. I have to buy new clothes because everything is fitting way loose on me.
Well, one of the biggest things for me, because I'm more concerned about your health than sometimes I feel than you are, is we're working towards getting you off your diabetes medication, because diabetes, for many doctors will say once you have it, you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that's not it. It may even be reversible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which we're working on. And again, it's just to be on a better diet, low carbs. For this little Mexican, it can get challenging because I love my rice and beans. I really do.
But it also doesn't hurt when we're in the lifestyle.
Right, exactly. When you're in the lifestyle, you definitely want to be ready to have fun at any occasion, anytime.
So this has been a fun first show. We want to go ahead and say you can reach out to us on social media.
Yes.
Which is?
Sex Positive Me, everywhere with the exception of Instagram. Instagram, it's SPM The Lunas. Due to censorship, but yes, we're trying our best. So, and our website too is the same thing, sexpositiveme.com.
And let's see, give a little last time shout out to our sponsors as well. There was One Condoms, Kink Crate, Sex Swing, and of course the Florida Center for Hormones and Wellness.
Mm-hmm.
I think it went well for a first show.
For our first show, absolutely. I think we did the best we can, as always. But also, just kind reminder, if you follow us on Instagram, we will be doing tomorrow night Date Night with the Lunas on Instagram. It might be our last Instagram. We're still working on it. It might transition over to YouTube. We kind of had challenges the last few times on Instagram in regards to saving the videos. And we had some good conversations too.
Well, coming up next week, because we are going to be coming back every Monday at 2:30, we will be here. And our next show will be Monday, March 1st. And we're actually going to be taking phone calls and answering questions. And this time we're going to go ahead and focus our topic on swinging. I know for some of you that is the thought of a key party and some like 1950s type style, but no, it is around. It's actually strong. There's plenty of swinging, house parties. There's resorts. There's, it's a best
vacations. I mean, hell, if I knew, when I was still in my travel industry days, that I could make billions of dollars working in swinging resorts, I would be like, done. It's like, I will plan your swinging vacation and more. So,
well, that's another reason we're waiting for the cruise community, the cruise lines to start sailing, because there are swinger cruises. We've done one before and it was amazing. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the do's and the don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in March, we actually doing a class coming up on swinger etiquette.
Yes.
So all the things that you want to know about
and need to know before going in. Yes.
Before starting a relationship, because above all, if you're starting to swing, you probably want to keep that relationship going and not just, abandon it and go into the swing world recklessly, because that won't be pretty.
Well, between the two of us, we have almost 30 plus years of experience, 25 being mine.
As you go, but no, just saying, Oh, yeah.
Well, one of our first discussions was, I asked you, so what are your rules? And you're like, what do you mean rules? Like, you don't have rules in swinging? I'm going to have to question going into this relationship with you.
We'll be talking about that on our next episode. So thank you for joining us. My name is John C. Luna.
I'm Angelique Luna.
And I guess stay sex positive, and we'll see you next week.
Giving me a minute here.